Hey everybody, so over the weekend I got another secret email from Rokoko, and they're the company that makes the smart suit. Now the last time I got a secret email from Rokoko, it cost me $1,000 because they're finally taking orders for their smart gloves and they haven't started shipping. So you won't be seeing my hands in this video or any other video, probably not until November is my guess. So I opened this secret email from Rokoko with some trepidation, and thank God it's for Android, and I don't have an Android, so I don't care. So I'm safe. But I want to go ahead and share what they sent. So I'm using an iPhone with face cap. Rokoko has their own iPhone app that complements their smart suit through their motion capture software, and it's just called Rokoko Studio. It's free, but you need the suit. So they charge a subscription for the facial mocap app, even though it's on the iPhone and it just uses iPhone blend shapes for all I understand. And it's not cheap. It's like $40 a month subscription. I'm like I said, I'm using FaceCap. FaceCap is platform agnostic. It exports FBX, but I use it to transmit just to I use it just to transmit the blend shape data over Wi-Fi into Unity. So it's like a one-time purchase and no subscription. So I haven't really honestly looked into Rokoko's app since, I'm already doing the same thing. And when I am ready to do live puppeting with my smart suit, it's already going to cost an additional subscription. Rokoko Studio communicates with their various plugins. There's a plugin for Unity, there's a plugin for Unreal, for Motion, what's it called? Motion Builder and Blender, maybe others. But anyway, you have to pay a subscription for Rokoko Studio to transmit to these plugins. So on top of that is another subscription for the iPhone. So needless to say, I haven't done that. When I get my gloves, yeah, maybe I'll bully my husband into buying me that the broadcasting subscription. But I still don't think I'll be using the Rokoko app. Okay, now I've never shown you any of my smart suit tests because, well, I had problems with my rigging. Not technical problems, just I use fused figures. I use the Mixamo rigging, and the Mixamo rigging is hit pretty hard by what's called candy wrapper joints, and that was like immediately like disappointing. Like, oh, I've got live motion capture, and oh, this really looks bad because I have to learn. It wasn't a problem with the smart suit or Rokoko. It's just I need to learn how to, make a more advanced rig for my figures, and use inverse kinematics. And anyway, that's another topic. Okay, so let's go back to that email from Rokoko. So what they sent out is a little survey asking about a new head mount for their upcoming Android-based facial mocap app. And hello, this is a big deal. Apple's iPhone has a huge head start in facial motion capture. I'll get to some of the reasons why later, but for now, as far as I know, there's only one proprietary software that's really running on both Android and iPhone. It's called HyperFace. It's also a monthly subscription, and it's really geared more towards like business to business applications. The app communicates with their SDK. It's not really an option for casual users. It's a technology that you'd embed in another, in another program, or you would use it in-house. It's not really for like, consumers. They're launching a Zoom app, a Zoom-like app that, uses their avatar technology so everybody in the video chat can have like custom heads. But HyperFace is cross-platform. It does use a depth sensor if it's available. Otherwise, it just uses your RGB camera. And there is a version for Android. So just throwing it out there, I don't know a lot about it. They have their own facial blend shapes, different from the iPhone. Of course, it's very similar to the iPhone because it's all, it's based on Fax blend shapes. So it's really similar. But from what I can tell, it's all their own proprietary technology. Now, I've also speculated a lot in the past about Mixamo's next incarnation. They've announced it's for AR, so presumably it would run eventually on Android phones. They had facial motion capture years ago on desktop. That's where the Mixamo blend shapes come from. But okay, no shade, just because I'm bitter about Fuse. All we've seen publicly from Mixamo is their AR app called Arrow. It's iPhone only, and it's very dependent on Apple's AirKit and also Apple Composer. And yeah, I don't think there's going to be an Android version of Arrow. Not while it's all based on Apple technology. There's nothing like Composer for Android, as far as I know. Composer's basically like, it's going to be the iPhone of virtual reality, or extended reality, whatever we're calling it this year. Anyway, you heard it here first, folks. Apple Composer is the iMovie of tomorrow, next week, something, as soon as we're all living in virtual reality, 1986, when was that supposed to happen? All right. Joking aside, now, I'm not a huge fan of Apple development. I say this while surrounded by Apple devices and recording on an Apple device, on an Apple Mac. As a user, I appreciate Apple's, fanatical security and the quality of their products. As a developer, iOS is just a pain in the ass. It's got a lot of steps involved. You have to use their proprietary software, and it's expensive. You have to pay to be a member. I'm just throwing all this out here. I have no Android devices. Nothing worth developing on. I think I have like a Rokoko video box or something. And this is not a comparison of Apple versus Android devices. All this information is strictly about getting facial motion capture. I don't care who or how. I just want it to work, and I want to know how much it costs. So, rewinding a little bit, Google/Android had a big setback with their VR development. Now, they had a system called Daydream. That was their development platform, their kind of SDK for VR. And then Google realized that nobody wanted to put their phone in a visor on their face. They wanted to keep their phone separate from VR. So a year ago, Daydream was deprecated, and now, as of last week, Daydream is history. There is no more VR on Android, at least not officially. They basically abandoned it because it was a development dead end. Now, speaking of VR, yes, of course, there are VR devices that are Android based. That's not the same as having an Android phone running VR. Okay, just to make that clear what I'm talking about. Now, just to be a completist for this video, I looked up all the VR companies, the big VR headsets, to see if any of them can do facial tracking. They do. A lot of them do eye tracking, but they don't do expression tracking. I did find some experimental hardware, not even prototypes, just like experiments. A couple of the big VR headsets tried adding additional tracking cameras. They'll track your hands, they track your eyes, but they tried additional cameras to try to track your expressions. And long story short, it doesn't really work. Like, the cameras are too close to your face. It could see like parts of your eyebrows, it could see parts of your mouth, and then it had to interpolate through like machine learning all the information that's not there. Basically what you need to know is there's no facial tracking for VR headsets. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon, if ever. Basically both companies, the research that I looked up, the cameras are way too close. So even with like AR glasses, yeah, don't expect like any kind of quality expression tracking. It doesn't seem like a priority that anyone is pursuing. Now, of course, we've had facial motion capture on desktop with a standard, web camera for years, and that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about mobile, basically. And we're also talking about like commercial products, things that you can buy, things that you can use. So for a few years, you could do this on desktop with like, low frame rates and dropped frames, but it exists out in the wild, and it's been around for years. So it leaves me wondering, like, why isn't this on Android? Like, where's all the facial motion tracking? Where's the facial mocap for Android? So I'm on the Android store, I'm Googling, I'm DuckDuckGoing, and I found HyperFace, and that's about it. There was, there's like very simplistic, like, face tracking, the kind of thing that like drops a sombrero on your head, or it lets you swap your face with your cat. That's but apps that actually read your expressions with any sort of accuracy in real time and turn that into animation data, no, it's not there. HyperFace. So I looked some more. Like, what are the pros using? What's the big, like Xsense. I went to the Xsense website. What's their facial motion? Well, they don't have any. They partner with other companies, and that seems to be all desktop based. So, okay. Let me take a little disclaimer. Software comes out all the time, but hardware comes out like once a year. So anything I say here, check the date on this video. Maybe I have a newer video with a similar subject, and I'm not a news source. I'm not going to turn my channel into like, a press release factory. I'm an opinionated artist. I talk about the tools that I use. I can be wrong. More likely, my needs are not exactly your needs. So I try to give you an overview of what I've researched, give you a head start figuring this stuff out. I hope I save you some time. But also, correct me if I get something wrong. Leave me a comment. Tell me about things that change, new stuff coming out on the horizon. And things are about to change. That's the whole point of this video. So subscribe if you want to hear conversations like this. I'm not trying to push any one system, Apple or Android. I'm just sharing the research and the information, what I can find out. Okay, now that we got all that background, let's get back to the Rokoko email. So it surprised me when Rokoko's like, teasing that they have this Android app, like, at all. And my friend dropped me a comment on one of my videos that Rokoko had something coming out soon, but this wasn't what I expected. And what's more, oh my god! Okay, so let's look at what they were showing. So they have two options, and the whole point is that they're trying to get you to vote on one of these options. By the time you're seeing this, I think the voting is over, so it doesn't matter. But the two options are this metal headgear thing for more money, or this like baseball cap for less money. And no prizes for guessing which option will win. I haven't actually looked, but I'm almost positive that everyone's going to vote for the baseball cap. Number one, it's like cheaper, and it's a baseball cap. It's just looks so much easier. It's not going to be as stable, but seriously, no one wants to wear that rat cage from 1984 on their face. Not if you can just slip on a baseball cap. That baseball cap is going to slide around. It's going to fall off. But it's cheaper. It looks more comfortable. Besides, it's for facial mocap, not for doing backflips. If you're going to be doing lip syncing while doing backflips, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck finding a performer who's going to do that. Okay. But the big question, the really big question that I had while looking at these two options is, where's the phone? Okay, so I went back to the email, and what they're doing is they're using an external camera. They list a minimum hardware requirement for the Android processor. That I expected. But I wasn't expecting an external camera connected by a USB cable. So that does two things. First, it's going to make their head mount, whether it's the baseball cap or this rat cage, it's going to make the head mount a lot lighter than having an iPhone strapped to your face. Okay, so here's another tangent. I built this whole contraption to head mount my iPhone to a tactical helmet. I never use it. It was a horrible idea. It was a waste of money. One of the issues is that the iPhone has an optimal depth distance. It wants to be like 18 inches away from your face. And so if you're going to wear it attached to a helmet, you need an aluminum arm that is long enough to extend from the helmet like 18 inches. And then your very expensive iPhone is hanging from like a clamp at the end of this arm, and it's like a construction crane. So you have this you have this heavy weight at the end of a boom arm, and you counterbalance the back of the helmet to offset the weight of the phone. And it's not that the phone is like really heavy, but like 18 inches is far. It's like far from your face. And it's physics. The faster you turn your head, the more the iPhone weighs at the end of this arm. So, turning your head, it's physics. You add metal weights to the back of your skull, the back of the helmet, but centripetal forces. I'm not giving you a physics lecture. I'm just telling you what the problem is. When you turn your head too fast, your phone weighs more at the end of the arm than when you are holding still. So the counterbalance weights at the back of your skull, they don't really work. Even when you balance the weight, you have to still like move carefully and slowly. It's annoying. No matter how tightly you strap this helmet to your head, it slides around. Maybe if you shave your head and your head is sticky. I don't know, maybe it would stay in place better. The moral of the story, of the sub story, is don't try to strap an iPhone 18 inches in front of your face. It's a nightmare. You cannot move normally. It's not a good solution. Don't even bother. I'm gonna save you time. Don't do it. So my iPhone solution, eventually, that I evolved to, I use a microphone stand. I'll show you my actual setup in another video, but essentially I have a microphone stand with a phone clamp, and it's designed for a tripod, and just a regular mount your phone to a photography tripod. And I use like a little brass adapter. It costs like $1.50 to adapt from a tripod screw head to a microphone stand screw head. This is a standard adapter. You can get it in any photography store. I bought a microphone stand. I think I got it at Guitar Center or wherever. Microphone stand is weighted on the bottom. It sits on my desk off to the side. It's way more convenient. I can lock the stand down, so it's really stable. And there's another issue with the iPhone, is that it likes to work at a specific angle. It works at bad angles. It even works like upside down. But there's definitely a sweet spot where the iPhone gives the best motion capture. You want about 18 inches in front of you and a little below you, kind of with the sensor pointing at your jaw. It's just the way the hardware of the phone is constructed. Now, I'm telling you all this because I thought I'd be wearing my smart suit with my iPhone strapped to my head, and I spent money to make that happen, and that's not actually what I do. Instead, I have disconnected. I have the freedom to move around in my chair. I can just get up and walk away because I'm not attached to my computer or anything. My Puppet is using the depth information from the iPhone, so I actually have more movement in this avatar. I'm using the depth information from the iPhone to control Unity's animation rigging, so this is not accurate motion capture. What it's doing is it's just an IK chain from the puppet's head down into the torso. But it adds a little more life. It helps. But the main issue is I can sit here and record for a long time. Like, if this was a live event, well, for me it's a live event, you seeing a recording, I can sit in my chair, I can relax, I can talk normally. I don't have to move my head like really stiffly, like I'm wearing a giant rubber Godzilla costume with no neck. All right. Now, I'm not wearing my smart suit, so we'll see what happens when I try to walk and chew gum at the same time. So this is my shout out to subscribe. So subscribe if you want to hear me complain about full body motion capture in the near future. All right, so let's get back to Rokoko. Wait, there's more. Okay, so Rokoko has this iPhone app, and they came up with a wearable solution to mount the iPhone. And, obviously they came to all the same conclusions that I did about the optimal range and distance. Like, you can't change the iPhone, and it objectively works best in this one position. So Rokoko invented this iPhone chest mount. It looks ridiculous. It looks so uncomfortable. I think it looks like it's always going to be in the way. I think they're charging about $100 for it. I kind of want one. It's not crazy expensive. It has this chest plate that you strap it on with this wire sticking out that like holds the phone. Like, the 18 inches in front of you and low, like if you were holding the phone, it like kind of holds it there. it seems, this is the solution. Like, they clearly engineered this thing to put it in the optimal position. But is is that better than strapping the phone to your face? I don't know. I haven't bought it yet. I don't know if I will. And they don't show anyone using it. So, I'm skeptical. It looks weird. It looks like it's going to get in the way. It is hands-free. But, so is my microphone stand, right? So, also, what if you have boobs? I don't want to strap this chest plate. Yeah. Okay, the tactical helmet was already a bust, so I'm not jumping at the opportunity to strap my iPhone onto my chest. Okay, and now I'm not making fun of Rokoko. I'm kind of impressed that they made this thing. If you do stand-up monologues, seems like a good solution, I guess. Rokoko was like a theater company, and their demos are all these contemporary dancers, like, jumping in the woods and rolling on stairs. And, well, they're not going to be dancing around with that thing sticking out of their chest. Nobody's going to be doing push-ups or martial arts with an iPhone sticking out. Okay, so Rokoko has apparently solved this issue for their Android app by using this tiny external camera connected by USB. But I suspect that they're actually solving another problem. Now, this part is just pure speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. In the email, they have some specs about, the little add-on external camera. So I just copied the specs into DuckDuckGo, and it brings up some other cameras on Amazon. And they all have something in common there, like, they're wide-angle tiny cameras, and they're capturing faster frame rates at lower resolution. So, like, the search that kept coming up was 120 frames per second at 720p. Like, high-end phones are all like 4K now. So my suspicion is this smaller resolution, 720p, is actually helping the Android processor. Okay, so now I'm going to get into some technical stuff, but this is what I'm thinking. This is why Android phones can't do facial motion capture, or, why we haven't seen it happening yet. So Android users have been demanding facial mocap since like 2018, since the iPhone, just appears like Athena from Zeus's head. Fully formed, facial recognition security, fax-based blend shapes, cute little Animoji characters that you can use in your messaging. Apple leapfrogged ahead. But they did it the old-fashioned way. They bought it. They grabbed PrimeSense. That was the maker of the Kinect, and later they bought software that was built for the Kinect called FaceShift, and this is old news for most of you. I made a history video about the origins of the iPhone blend shapes. Go check it out if you want. But basically, like, I started wondering, how important is the true depth sensor on the iPhone? Like, what role does that play in getting better face capture? Like, let's face it, Apple isn't making magic phones. As much as, as much as their advertisers would like us to believe. These phones are not magic. They're Androids that are every bit as fast or faster than my 2-year-old iPhone 10. And they're Androids with depth sensors. So what's going on here? Why can Apple do facial capture and Android can't? Like, what's the secret? So Apple's mocap comes from desktop technology. PrimeSense made the original Kinect, and Kinect was not a high-resolution camera. And it wasn't particularly fast either. But they were already working on a mobile sensor when Apple bought them. So they had a head start. FaceShift was like just hitting Hollywood, like doing previs on Star Wars when Apple bought them. And if you look at FaceShift, almost all the iPhone blend shapes are there. again, they had a head start. It evolved after that. Now, even though phase shift used a Connect, it also needed a pretty strong GPU to help process the facial tracking. And it's only a matter of time before high-end mobile phones can do what desktops did 7, 8 years ago. And honestly, I think I'm making this video because I think we're arriving at that point. But like that doesn't answer the question. Like iPhones are not from the future. Like there are manufacturing limits in reality. It's not the iPhone processor or the GPU. So how did Apple do it? Okay, so I did some research. I'm sure you're surprised. And what I found is the depth sensor. It sprays the infrared dots. It's not that high res, so it's not terribly accurate. But what it does is it tracks the depth to your face, not your expressions. It like any camera, it just draws a box like around your face. It's just simple face tracking. Well, the depth sensor makes that easier to track because with the depth information, the GPU is rescaling and restabilizing that image of your face. It's isolating a square of your camera feed and tossing out the extra information, the extra video pixels. So it's just tracking a simplified, smaller version of your head. Okay, and throwing out the rest of the information and that sort of thing, like moving this square around. That's exactly what like GPUs are good at. So the original iPhone can track one face at a time. With each ARKit, Apple has bumped that up. I think now it's currently like 2 or 3 faces can be tracked at the same time. Probably not with my phone, it's 2 years old, but later phones can track like 3 or more faces. And obviously we're talking real-time processing. If you can process, face tracking offline, you can do 30 faces. It doesn't matter, but we're talking about real-time. Now, I recently saw a video from Apple about AirKit 4. And this has a new spec saying that Apple's facial blend shapes don't need the true depth sensor anymore. If the iPhone or the iPad has a certain processor or above, whatever their new chip is, I think it's like A13 or something, it's now running fast enough to track the head and decode the blend shapes at the same time. No true depth need. Like you don't need the true depth shortcut to simplify the head scaling, within the face tracking step. So new iPhones, I haven't actually seen this put into practice yet, but according to ARKit, new iPhones and new iPads will be able to do the blend shape motion capture without the true depth sensor. You won't get the depth. Like you won't be able to do what I'm doing here, but you'll get rotation and you'll get the blend shape. So that's good news. That means lower and cheaper devices, probably ones coming out the end of this year, should be able to do the facial motion capture. If I understand AirKit, it just means they have, developers have to update their Xcode, and it's a done deal. I haven't seen that put into practice, but that's my belief, is that this should open up to more devices, maybe even as fast as the end of the year. Now, this Rokoko Android head mount thing, This camera isn't going to give you depth information anyway. It's always the same distance from your face. So locking down the camera to a specific distance and the smaller camera resolution, that might be how Rokoko is kind of getting this jump to get blend shapes to run on Android. And by the way, I haven't seen what Rokoko's blend shapes for Android are going to be. Are they going to use the iPhone blend shapes? Or are they going to use... How's that going to work? I don't know. But eventually they're getting this kind of hardware jump by breaking out to this lower res camera that's always a consistent distance from your face. Now, extrapolating this, we might eventually see new kinds of dedicated headsets designed just for facial motion capture. You know, these things have been running into the thousands of dollars. Like, you buy one for like $25,000, $6,000, whatever. Rokoko's email suggests that they're aiming for a few $100s. Like, I think the rat cage was like $400, and the baseball cap's like cheaper, like $300. Don't quote me on these prices, and don't quote them on the prices either. The product's not out yet. I'm just gonna say, like, you know, this seems like a good solution. Maybe better than certainly better than trying to strap an iPhone to your head. But once Rokoko does it and it's working, I'm going to expect other people to do it too. Now, there's a whole aspect to this that I'm really not qualified to talk about, but it does occur to me that, you know, maybe this is not a hardware or software problem. Maybe it's a legal problem because, of course, Apple patents up. You know, right after they bought PrimeSense and right after buying FaceShift, Apple churned out a bunch of patents. Some of them had like the FaceShift people's names on these patents, but Apple starts to churn out these patents to protect their, you know, their advantage. And a few are specifically about facial motion capture, but most of these patents are tied to the iPhone security system for facial recognition. I even found a source that implied that the iPhone is tracking veins under your skin through the infrared camera, and that gives them advantage in facial recognition because, like, some early Android facial recognition was fooled by photographs. And like 3 years later, you know, we've had these iPhones, and I haven't heard of anyone cracking an iPhone through facial recognition. So, you know, apparently their patents are doing something. I've tried to look through some of this patent info. Ugh, you know, according to one website, there's more than 50 patents filed by Apple that pertain to their facial recognition and facial motion capture. And, you know, capturing performance in real time. And you know how patents work. A patent can be given to a company, but they can also be challenged in court. And also, patents expire. So I can't honestly tell you if any of Apple's specific patents are blocking development for facial motion capture on Android. You know, I couldn't tell you if these apply to software systems. I'm assuming it's more about protecting Apple's hardware advantage. But, you know, maybe... yeah, and not poo-pooing that Apple also put in time and effort. And like I said, they had a head start with these other companies, but they also did like some machine learning to get the blend shapes working. You know, it may be possible that Android software can do this, but they're legally blocked from doing it. You know, and yeah, Apple's definitely going to like protect any of their patents that are involved in their security, you know, their facial recognition security. So Now, also, of course, last year Apple bought full body motion capture company called Ikenema. And I think we already saw some of that technology introduced into some of Apple's iPad Pro products that are due at the end of the year. But they're kind of wrapping it up into this highbrow exercising and this kind of stuff. They're not creating commercial motion capture software for us. We're sort of piggybacking onto their technology, but it stands to reason that they bought these software companies that were already doing motion capture. Apple is on the ball about motion capture, and Google Android, not so much. At least not that I'm hearing, and certainly not that we're seeing developed into products. So if you see the glass is half empty, Apple is preventing this development on Android. If you see the glass is half full, Apple got there first, and they're making really aggressive purchases and all the right decisions to do some really cool futuristic stuff. And also, Apple's design philosophy is always kind of getting the tools outside of your face, easier to user friendly. That's what. Yeah, come to my channel where I describe user friendly as getting tools out of your face. That's user friendly for me. All right. That's my discussion for today. That's why I think that Android has been slow on doing any kind of facial motion capture, but maybe those days are numbered. Keep a lookout. Subscribe to my channel. I will keep you up to date in the crap that I find out. If you thought this was helpful, or if you want to encourage me making more topics along this lines. I'm not against Android, but I'm currently invested with iPhone, and I'm doing pretty good with FaceCap, so I'm not, I'm not throwing my money at Android yet, but, anything that brings the price down and that makes this more available to everybody, that makes me happy. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you. I will see you next time. Stay safe, take care, and be creative. Bye.